podcast. It's the Sutton podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this.
But the whistle goes now. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United, the National League, are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. We may be live, we may not be live, I don't know, but I have no idea if I can see the chats, but I ignore them mostly anyway, so that's not the end of the world. Joining me tonight, we've got welcome return to Joe. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Also returning after a little time is Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Mike. Hi, everyone.
And returning after a bit of a longer time is Andrew. Hello, Andrew. How are you?
Hi, good evening, chaps. Is everyone okay?
Evening. Yeah, good, thanks.
Well, I'm good.
I'm great.
I'm over it. So, what do we want to start with? Do you want to start with the game, or do you want to start with the
Bradford?
the very reasonable reaction to the games? Or let's start with the game. I didn't realise that Josh was his loan meant he wasn't able to play in the cup. It makes sense, but other than that, I think I got 10 out of 11. I didn't. I expected Jack to come back in for this one as well. But what did you guys think of the lineup? Start with Paul. You first. What was your thoughts, sort of pre-match?
Yeah, I mean, we had a few players back, didn't we? Which was good, but still a hell of a lot of players not back. So it wasn't a complete surprise the way we lined up, and it was first half chances, loads of first half chances. Will Randall went close, a couple off the line, wasn't there? And the keeper, and then we get into cup cliche mode, don't we? The keeper's having a blinder, we're peppering the goal, it's not going in. Oh, it's going to be one of those days, but. Even after that first half, I thought second half we were going to kill them off, but weren't to be, was it?
No. And Joe, your thoughts ahead of the match when you saw the lineup? What were you thinking?
Same as you, actually. I thought Jack would be in goal because obviously he was back fit after being injured. But yeah, it looked like a full strength team because this is, in terms of scheduling, you could just play a full strength lineup as much as you can because obviously it's not like a midweek game. Yeah, good to see Killian got the nod obviously because Omar's out suspended for 3 matches. I wasn't sure if it'd be him or Tope. Obviously, Tope didn't get to play in the end, but yeah, it was. I thought good team. I thought we could. We did dominate first half, as Paul said. We had so many chances. We could have been 3 up by half time, but obviously their keeper made some great saves. Obviously the save from Eastie, but yeah, I thought good team. I thought we could be on our way to the second round draw on Monday night, but obviously that didn't quite go the way we wanted it to.
No, and Andrew, you've been around a little longer than the other two, so you've been on the receiving end before.
Yep.
Were you with us with Alton?
Yeah, I was. I went to that game. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
That was the Ryman winning season, I think, and they beat us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of team lineup, I thought we should have still had enough to get through yesterday, really. And yeah, I mean, the more and more those chances went on, I felt we were going to be left to rue them. The second half showing was as poor as I've seen for a long, long time. So yeah, very disappointed. But yeah,
it definitely one of those games that when the draw was made, it had banana skin written all over it. Even though everyone's saying it was one of the best draws you could have, it's still one of those you're like, I don't want to celebrate too much. It's a game. I think I said to Sarah the other day. It's one of those where we were never going to win because had one of those early goals gone in, we would have probably scored 4 or 5. That's not a disrespectful thing. It's just we'd have had the confidence and we would have pushed on, and they would have had to come at us a bit more. But everyone would have just went, "Oh well, you beat Conference Southside, so what?"
I thought first half they were pretty poor. Yeah. I mean, the physicality as well was different.
I thought we beat them on the physicality. Yeah, absolutely. They looked small, a small team, didn't we? And I thought we would knock them off the park.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's not to be. There was that one save. I can't remember who it was. It was a bit of a scramble, and the keeper literally had his fingertips on it, and then one of the players cleared it off the line. And I thought, there we go. It's the Scuffy goal. That's the one. That's the one we want.
Yeah, that was Randall's shot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think he had a great game.
He had a good game.
Yeah. You mentioned Eastie's shot, which I don't know how we got to, but another great save from that. I mean, as we get into the second half, I was standing with Josh, my nephew, and I was just like, the Rangers started driving down. Kobe had just gone off, and they got a throw on, and I was like, "Yeah, we're stuffed here. This is going to be a nightmare." And unfortunately, that prediction did come true, and the scrappy goal. Now, obviously, Matt's alluded to. We've had this before, where a goal was conceded shortly after having to make changes at the back. I mean, obviously, none of us are managers, but what's the solution? I keep seeing people, lots and lots of people, and I'm not, if anyone said it or did hear, people saying, why does Tope not start a game? How's he going to stop that happening at the back?
First of all, we've got to admit it's a problem, haven't we? I don't know whether the managers and the management team are, they're playing the media game quite right, and so it's not a problem. But for all the gibberish that was online, there was that stat that said that there's been 10 goals in our games from 80 minutes and over, and 9 of them have been against us. So that does indicate there's a little bit of an issue there, isn't it? And I suppose the first thing about an issue is you've got to admit there is an issue and do something about it.
I just think overall we're missing a leader at the back.
Yeah.
We go back to it a lot, don't we? And Ben Goodliff missing is critical, absolutely critical.
And it's really unfortunate, especially that we just looked after Kobe went off, because he's been so vital at the start of the season. He's been just performing every single game. We just looked a little bit lost, and it was that kind of typical goal, as you said, that first goal, that we just seem to concede. It's that kind of back post, someone switching off, or it's that just the ball, one man lost in the middle, and then before you know it, they've just got an easy tap in. And it just, I was saying, because I went with my mate, and to be fair to the Farnborough fans, they were cracking. They came in numbers, and they were loud all the way through. But I just don't think we looked, from about 50 minutes onwards, we didn't look like a team that believed at some points we would just get through, because of how close we came in the first half. I think I don't know how we didn't score, but I think because of how close we came, it just looked like we were putting balls in the first half, and then in the second half we were waiting for the overlap, or we were waiting for the person to come on the cutback, and then there wasn't that person, and then they regrouped, and then the same thing happened. We got close, it maybe get blocked or get cleared, and then we would cycle again, and it would just take one little kind of problem at the back, and it just didn't look like we were going to score after about 50 minutes. We didn't have that attacking threat.
Yeah, it was really. I mean, that second half was really poor, wasn't it? It was really, really poor, and we play a certain type of game, and that's fine, but it felt that it just wasn't clicking. None of the passes were going to the feet. If we did get a cross in there wasn't anyone on it, and they were just clearing up very easily from us if we were getting around them at all. Just a really poor second half.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Andy that said online somewhere that yes, Will had a really bad game, but Will's been one of our better players this year. Who's just really ineffective. Same as Enzio. You kind of were like, oh yeah, he played the full game, but it was just I don't know. I mean, you can't say, as some people are saying, that we didn't care about the cup, because at the end of the day, that's 40 grand that we've just lost, and potential for more. Matt clearly wants to do something in the FA Cup because he hasn't as yet. But yeah, for whatever reason, it just wasn't happening. The second goal didn't make any difference at all. We were pushing forward. A bit disappointed to work out we couldn't even foul the bloke to stop the second goal going in. We've managed to bugger that up. But you mentioned the Farnborough fans. Yeah, they were great. There was a lot of criticism of a few of their fans at how quiet we were, which surprised me because they've all been here before, so they know how quiet we are. And secondly, was it just it's not a game to get excited about? It was a game against lower league opposition. It was less than 2,000 there. It was a rainy day.
Yeah. And there's a little bit about that home and away, isn't it? Because if they'd seen us at Wimbledon, it was 1,200 there and it was absolutely rocking, wasn't it? So I think there's something about an away stand, isn't it, that brings out the best in a team's fans. But yeah, that wasn't going to bring out the best in us.
No, never. I mean, it is the FA Cup. It is exciting, but it's difficult because that was our first game. You don't have any time to build any momentum, and we're out. So,
and also, as you said, it's
the Pizza Cup.
It's also a lose-lose situation for us, isn't it? It's a win-win for them. You said it. It was like, if we won, you beat Farnborough. If we lose, it's like, okay, we lost. But the same for them. If they win, it's like, oh my gosh, you got a cup set. But then if you lose, you're like, all right, you were the underdog. And it was just, I don't think we can. I just turned away because I was standing like next to the pitch for the second goal. I was just because I wanted to get on the bus, get on the 413 back to Sutton, and I was just like, you know what? If this second goal goes in, I saw them countering, and we just didn't look like we could stop them. They were just charging down the pitch. It looked like we had nothing to get rid of them, and I just saw the ball roll into the net, turned, and walked out. It just there was no. Yeah. I don't know. We can't. There was nobody that particularly. Kobe played quite all right. Louis and Kobe played the centre backs, put him some nice balls around in the first half, and then when he went off, it was just like little lost. There was a few. Rob lost a few balls. Our centre mids kind of just lost the ball a few times, and it was just disappointing. There's not really much else I can say about it in the second half. That's how it was.
No, I think you said it earlier, Paul, that the organisation at the back, I mean, we've got Kobe and Louis who played together, but neither one of them you would say is the big organiser and the talker. Whereas Ben does that, and we were led to believe, obviously, Aaron does that, Aaron Pierre, but we've only seen him for like 5 minutes, so we wouldn't know.
It's just like, it feels like... it feels like last year when we were hot, it was like the intensity was there and the pass, and it's almost like the player knows that you can see they're thinking 2 moves ahead, and the passing slick and tight, and they're moving around with some intensity, and it just looked missing. It's been missing a few games, and I don't know whether that's confidence or whether that is just missing a lot of players, and actually these guys have still got to get used to playing with each other for a bit because it's been such chop and change. So I think there's just something in there that we play a certain way, and it's not all long ball. Actually, we can knock it about, and it just feels as though the intensity around that and the fluidity is missing a little bit. It certainly was yesterday, second half anyway.
Do you saw it?
Do you think that could be?
Continue.
Go on, Joe.
We saw it. The one time we saw intensity. Well, I thought I saw it in Northampton when we played second half and we came back. That was where I saw a bit of slickness from like when we were on our runs last season, and when we saw it kind of at the end of August against Mansfield and Harrogate. There was intensity there. In the first half, Donovan and Omar, they were just kind of. They weren't like Will or I can't remember who was playing. I want to say it was Enzio. Whoever was getting to the byline, they weren't getting the box. We'd have no one in the box, and then they just play for the cutback and we go again. That second half, we could have won it easily. like we could have won it 4-2 or something. They didn't get past our back few, and then I just thought, we had this last year against Hayes as well. We only won due to a bit of all-round magic, and it's just a difficult. I think we can say how much the second half performance was just disappointing, but we can also say that not to make excuses, but it's a hard tie. I mean, it's a hard tie to kind of meet expectation because you're just expected to win because you're a League Two side, and we've got to remember that also we're shackled down by our injury situation. Like obviously we've got Aaron out, Ben out, Matt Ridley's also out now. He's just had surgery on his ankle.
Yeah.
So we've literally, like someone who was on loan, it has been recalled, and it's just you can't really do much with that. And we've got no manoeuvre in midfield because Adam Lovett was cut-side. It's just this run of circumstances didn't help for the performance that we had as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of actually backs up the point I was going to say. Do we think that the lack of intensity is linked to the injury list because you're going to have players holding back a little bit because they know if they get injured, there is no cover? So
yeah, I think that's a valid point.
If Kobe gets injured now, hopefully he's not, but if he gets injured, who are we going to shift around and everything? I know we've got Joe that can play there and he's done very well, but we're kind of running out of numbers at the moment. It's going to get to the old Sunday League stage where you put everyone's name in a hat and go, right, well, you're playing left back today, you're playing right back. We'll see how we get on. But Eastie's on a yellow suspension, I think, if he gets one more. And I think he's been that way for about 4 or 5 games. So again, that's got to change his game a little bit because if he gets another one before January, I think, that's a suspension again. And you've got to question who we're going to play there if Eastie's not there.
Yeah.
But good luck to Farnborough. They did well. They came and done exactly what we have done in the past. So,
Deserve their win, didn't they? Deserve their win.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, their fans were nice and noisy. So yeah, good luck to them in the next round. I always like to think that we could get knocked out by eventual winners. I think we did once with Arsenal, but
that was the biggest away following of the year, wasn't it? 510.
Yeah, I think it was. We've missed. They're only going to get it for a week. I'm pretty sure Bradford's going to be a few more. But you have to, before we go on to the fallout in the Bradford game, I am going to ask for some player of the days. So I know how difficult it's going to be, but I'll give you all a second.
Now watch me do my dance. I'm the player of the day.
Even that clip didn't want to play properly. Right, so I'm going to be very generous. I'm going to give Joe, I'm going to give you first shout. Who do you want to put forward?
Who do I want to put forward? Yeah. Okay. I'd say it's like I could probably say Eastie. He was good in centre midfield in the first half. He had his chance. He didn't make any glaring. I didn't see him make any errors. He was the only one chatting, and I think he's one of the only ones. Obviously Ben, if he was here, but he's the leader of the group, obviously. So he kind of tried to get him going, but it's like to use a phrase, best of the bad bunch. But he was, I don't much I can say. Yeah. So I'd say Eastie.
Fair enough. Which of you two want to jump in first?
Go on, Paul.
Go on, Andrew. Sure. Blimey. Good luck going third. I would have probably gone Eastie first. Probably. I mean, for me, the girls in the kitchen did a really nice burger.
That is true.
That was
very nice.
No, I don't mind stretching it, but that's too far.
I'll probably go Will Randall then, but you'd struggle to get me in the dock defending it. But
okay,
best of a bad bunch.
Go on then, Andrew.
I'm probably going to get a bit of stick for this. It was my first proper viewing of.
He was good.
He just ran away.
His connection's gone just as he said that.
Oh, really? Did it go? Oh, jeez.
He said, I'm going to get some stick for this. I'll go for Sam Hart, and then it cut off.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought a couple of the others would have said Eastman, so I'll go with Sam Hart. I thought he had a reasonable game, some good darting runs forwards. He made a couple of good interceptions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was tough, isn't it, picking a star player from yesterday's showing? But yeah, I'll go with Hart.
We've had a look at him now, haven't we, for a few games?
Yeah.
I had him on my shortlist as well, and Easton. He did have a few good runs. He did seem to be trying.
Yeah, there's lots of endeavour there with him.
There was one where he cut in, and I thought he's going to have a shot here, and then he bottled it and didn't, because I was like, if he just has a lash, you just don't know. No one else is shooting, just do it.
Was that where he went down trying to get a penalty?
No, it was a bit before that, I think.
Oh, okay.
But to finish it off, I'm going to stick in Kobe. Basically because we didn't concede while he was on the pitch. So
better reason than any. Best reason.
Yeah. I was considering Tope, but I thought that was going to take the piss too much. So
that's a mystery that was yesterday.
To be fair to Tope, everyone was saying why, like he was warming up for ages, and he was there. Right? People were like, why would come on? And he backed Matt's decision. He was just like, I don't know, but there's reasons behind it. But
no,
he was great. It was just like he complete back, and it was just like not my decision. And everyone was like getting at him. He kept running up and down the same bit of touchline. And like if you're in that situation, you're like, okay, he's still on. Am I coming on? But he just backed the decision. And I thought that was just good of him.
He's always gonna. He's a very good lad. He's always. It's one. I mean, Andrew. When I sent you that message earlier, I just remembered you sent me the picture of him. When he was coming off the pitch and he was carrying all the water bottles and stuff, and it's like, this is a League Two player. He's not supposed to be doing stuff like that. But yeah, you can't. Well, we can second guess Matt. I'm sure we're going to go on to it, but you've got to back his judgment because he's got us to where we are. So it's not. There's obviously some reason he doesn't want to do that. He generally will only play swap his strikers around every now and then. He clearly sees Killian as a bit of a replacement for Omar. I didn't realise. I think someone mentioned Kwame's got an injured wrist.
It was put on the forum, wasn't it?
Realised.
Yeah.
But young Charlie hasn't really set the world on fire. But has he played in matches where he's had the chances?
Not enough game time for my liking.
Yeah, I think you're right, Andrew. Yeah, I think you're right. And you use the word endeavour, and I think that applies to him as well, isn't it? At times we have seen him. There's been some endeavour there, and that, and probably needs a bit more of a run out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we move on to Bradford, I'm gonna read out some statements for you guys, just to discuss, and I'd like to see if we know why these statements are useful or useless. Bruce should sell the club. What do we think about Bruce Elliott selling the club?
Oh, good luck, as he don't own it.
There we go.
He's chairman, isn't he?
Wonderful. I mean, this was from someone who, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, he's supported the club for 40 years.
He says so.
Yeah, saying that Bruce should sell the club. So, okay. The next one is, all we need to do is bring in 5 or 6 players in January.
Is that from all the money that we've got from selling the club?
So easy.
So my problem there is, if there's 5 or 6 players available, why are they available in January? Why do their club want to get rid of them? They're not going because they're good. I think that was followed up with the players that we've got are no good. What we need to do is get in some youngsters from local league teams. So youngsters that aren't good enough to play for other league clubs, untried, come to us because they'll do well. That's another one I loved. I think this was on the forum. Sell the training ground.
Oh, jeez.
Why?
The training ground that we lease. We lease the training ground, and we need to sell it to help us with tactics.
Yeah.
Am I right in that thinking that person wants to go back to the park pitches to train on?
I didn't. There didn't seem to be an alternative offered, but how selling the training ground that we don't own
And
would
we and we
help
know
us.
and we know a training ground is their working environment. It's very important. So having a decent one and a good one that we've managed to find, and surely that's a good thing. Again, forgetting the actual selling it and stuff like that. Actually, having a good one is a key
Yeah,
selling point. If we can't pay wages, then actually having a decent place to work, essentially,
absolutely.
got to be part of the carrot, isn't it?
And it was good enough for QPR in the
Yeah.
Championship last year. So it's come on.
It's a great
To
find.
to go back to one of the earlier ones about January, like I don't think that obviously you said it, like if they won't get anywhere else, where are you going to bring them in? But I think obviously you look at the injuries, we need if they're I don't know nationally, we need depth. Like obviously last year the squad was great. We only brought in I think Stuart Nelson was the only one we brought in, I think, and he was just backup
Yeah.
keeper because obviously we had keeper problems. I'd say maybe I don't think we need another striker because we've still got Charlie, we've got Tope, another centre back if depending on how long Aaron Pierre's out
Yeah.
for, another midfielder. Yeah, that's maybe it. We do need people in January. I think we need to loan maybe.
We need Matt to work his magic and get players who are hungry and want to take the step up, like Joe, like Omar, who are playing at that lower level but could do the job for us. One of the others, the players are basically non-league quality, and we miss the big names that we let go. Now, I know we're all a fan of Dave Adjaboy, but the fact is he was bought from 2 levels below us at the time.
Yeah.
He was non-league quality, and he's not getting a game in the league above us. So,
Just a point on Aji Boy. I'll be stunned if he doesn't come back to us in January on loan for the rest
That's
of the
what
season.
I was going to say. I was saying if he doesn't come back to us, I don't know what else he's doing. He's got like 2 appearances at Peterborough.
Yeah, he
I
was
would,
around the ground as well, wasn't he? A few weeks.
I would imagine that's already been
he
put in
come-
motion, I think.
Yeah. My only worry on that kind of thing is when Rory came back to us from Dundee, he was not the same player. His confidence was absolutely shattered. So
Yeah.
you could find that we have the man back, but not the player.
Yeah, the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there is something about that January. I think we did have some lessons learned about that January window. Wasn't quite sure how to play it last year.
No.
And I agree totally what Joe said. Except I would probably. I mean, I know the striker thing is. We tear our hair out with this one. Is we're in a weird position that we've got some really good players in those places who play some really good stuff and absolutely add to the team. Except they don't score a goal, and actually they're there. A striker is there to score the goals. The old Wrexham documentary, I watched it this week, and Phil Parkinson was on there, and he was saying, it's the most important person on the pitch. You need someone to bang the ball in the net. And for all our good players in that space, they're not putting the ball in the net. And I know, Mike, you've mentioned about we bring in a good player, or we get someone who's banging it in the net, and of course they'll clear off. And I think I think you're right, but we need someone to put the ball in the net. Otherwise, it's. Do
you think they need better service though?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also we do need a greedy sod. We need someone to just get their big toe on it or their backside or whatever. It's just someone whose first thought is to shoot, not to pass it on.
That's one thing. Yeah.
When he scored against Northampton, I thought that's the goal. That's going to be the one. He's done it now. Let's move on. And even yesterday, he was back to just passing it. It's like, just shoot.
He blazed it over the bar. He blazed it over the bar, didn't he? There's composure from that place where. Oh, don't get me wrong. I think he's a fantastic player, and that's absolutely well worth his time. But
he's also the thing is the amount of times off corners that it will get near the back post and it gets cleared away, and the amount of times where you just ping it at the goal. Like there's so many little chances where it rebounds and you just think shoot. Like obviously we're not League Two Sutton United players, but I ended up shouting shoot, and that just sounds ridiculous now looking back on it because obviously they can't hear me. But you've got a better chance when the amount of times where we get chances but we don't take them. surely at that point you just want to give it a go, because there could be a handball in there. There could be a block that rolls to Donovan or Omar to Will, and it just gives us a chance. If we don't shoot, then you won't get anything. I think
a deflection for another corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, don't worry about sounding ridiculous. You've got another 30 odd years of standing there shouting shoot
Cool.
and sounding ridiculous. Don't worry. But yeah, one of the others I loved was the fella that threw their season ticket away into one of the gardens.
Really?
And
I didn't hear about that.
the shoe, yeah. The shoebox was too quiet.
Shoebox ain't there.
Yeah, he did come back and went, oh, I thought a different part of the ground was the shoebox. And it's like, okay, again, you're some...
You know what he's saying. You know where he's coming from, isn't he? He's talking about the ground generally, isn't he? But yeah.
But the things on change the manager, sack the manager, a change is needed on the sidelines. It's not a coincidence that a lot of the people saying these are other clubs like Chelsea in the bios, who obviously change their manager fairly frequently. We obviously don't do that at Sutton.
I mean, it's interesting. It's a learning curve for everyone here, isn't it? The board, manager, the managerial team, players, even fans, isn't it? A lot of League Two. So a lot of it for these guys and us is all new. So it's a bit of a learning curve for everyone. So I think, and bearing in mind where we've just come from and what we've achieved, I think a bit of slack is the least we can give them.
Yeah, and also like Newport and Doncaster, I think they've sat their managers recently, and they found it. Doncaster have got Danny Schofield, but it's difficult to get good managers in at this level. Like if you're going to sack someone, which obviously not at all. I don't think keep Matt Gray on. Look what he's done for the club, but after maybe a 2-0 defeat to Farnborough, where it was just not enough kind of aggression towards the ball and stuff like that. But if we sack him, where do we go? Like, who do we get in? What's the process then? Like you're saying, sack the manager, but what's your plan beyond that? There is none. And it just annoys me when people are like, oh, get them out or get them out, just because if they've done so much for something, and just because they've gone on a difficult run. If you were 2 months ago, you wouldn't be saying this. We've won. We've gone against Barrow. We've gone against Mansfield. They were playoffs last year. Like we're 11th, 10th. All right, that's fine. And then saying it now, it's just you change it so quickly, and it just annoys me.
Yeah, no, it's nowhere near, is it? And I think it's a very small minority anyway, isn't it? It's interesting to see where the dressing room are with all this. I wonder if the dressing room I still think they're playing for the manager.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it is a minority. It's just, as I think Dan said, obviously this was going to happen the first time. Now we've picked up a huge increase in fans. You're going to get an increase in what they want. I mean, anyone supporting this club for the last 12 years has just known constant success, barring 1 or 2 seasons where it's not quite gone to plan. This season's not going to plan. But at the end of the day, and I think someone said, if we survive by 1 goal scored, we're in this division next year, and that's where we want it to be. I don't know where you sit, Andrew. What were your thoughts looking at all the sack managers? Yeah, no, it's definitely just it's just a season of. I think exactly as you said. I think I said it a couple of weeks ago. Because of last year, this year's looking bad. But if we'd finished 17th last year, this season we're looking okay. That's grand. It's fine. Everything's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not sure the answer is sack everyone and burn everything, but that seems to be the way people are going. It's disappointing. And again, I don't want to keep quoting because he's not on here, but Dan basically said, what happened to the days of sulking and just moving on and getting on with your life and getting on with it? We go again next week, which leads me on to next week. Andrew's ducked out of the conversation already. But how do we feel against Bradford? I was going to have someone from the City event on who, unfortunately, last minute couldn't come on, so we didn't get a Bradford fan's point of view, which is probably just as well because we've laboured on the FA Cup for a while now. But what are our thoughts going into next week? We've got a whole week on the training ground.
Assuming we haven't sold it.
Say again? Oh, yeah, assuming we rented it out for farmland or something. But yeah, we've got a whole week to work on it, get bodies back, get Catherine and Bobby and the rest of them to do their magic on some injured players. I mean, there was some good news on Ali and Harry. They're both in running training now, I think. And Ben, I was told the brace has been off. He's in training. In fact, he drove himself to the game yesterday, which I think is the first time he drove himself. So he's obviously feeling a lot stronger now.
Sounds incredible progress, that, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But then you just sit there and go, please don't be rushing back.
Yeah.
John, I think he's had more operations and he's going to be well away. But it sounds like we've got Please coming back. Obviously, it won't be for next week. But what are our thoughts on Bradford? If I start with you, Paul, what do you think? How do you see it going?
For the reasons we've already spoken about, tough gig, just the confidence and the way things have been going and the injury list, coupled with the fact, they were last year. I know it was the last game of the season, but I thought they were one of the best teams that came to the ground. They had a new manager bump then, didn't they? But they looked terrific at GGL last year, and they're going great guns to this season. So a tough game.
Yeah, last year was again really disappointing at that time. I did try and say, actually, if that match had happened in August or September, we would have just shrugged our shoulders and moved on with our lives. But because it happened right at the business end when we needed a result, it was just devastating. Joe, what do you think for next week?
I think they're quite a big club for League Two, Bradford. They'll bring supporters, and I think we just need to reset. Like the amount of times I've said to myself or on here, reset will go again. I don't really know what to expect. I think yesterday, bit of an anomaly. I think we've lost games this season. Obviously, Stevenage, Stockport, but we had Stevenage, very good team this season. Stockport, obviously, we had Omar's red card. I think Bradford, obviously, as you said, it could be a difficult one. We have our home form precedes us, but that's been a bit ooh-ah in the last month or so. So we just need to kind of, I think, maybe, I'm not saying change everything, but not to criticise Lewis Ward, but he didn't fill me with confidence yesterday. I'm not saying bring Jack Rose in. Obviously, he hasn't had a run of games, but otherwise he's just kind of stuck there. Brad's kind of our sub-keeper, and Jack Rose will just kind of be out of the frame. And you've got to have that fight again. Get it. Jack went out when we saw him. He seemed to take control. He seemed to want to play like football on the break. One thing about yesterday I didn't actually say was that there were chances where Lewis would just get the ball and then it just stop. It'd go dead, and we have players that can go on the break, and we saw that with Eastie's chance with the ball forward, and we caught them unawares, and we have that capability, and especially when Josh is in the side next week, which I hope he will be, we have that pace who can just run through everyone and score. We saw that against Mansfield. He got past 4 players in one move, and I kind of want to see him back. I think we could. We are underdogs going into the game. Obviously, league form, and I think just general depth, obviously with injuries. But I don't see it being an easy day, and I don't see it being. In the nicest way possible. I don't see it being a bounce back. I think it could be to take a 1-1 draw. I take that. I think there's a possibility if we score early that we could 2-0 to 3-0, 3-1. But I think if we do the same as yesterday, I think it could be a very difficult day. Although they have had some issues recently. I think one of their star strikers on loan, Kean Harrott, he's been called back by his parent club after like disagreements in the dressing room. And there's apparently, this is from what I've read, conflicting things going on in the Bradford dressing room. So I don't know if that will play a factor, but that's just one player. But he's gone now. But that's the only thing that I can know about them really.
Cool. I'm going to come back to the Lewis Jack thing. I just messaged Andrew to see what his thoughts are. Christ, where to start? Pensive, not looking forward to it, fearing a beating, another blank in from the goal. So glad he wasn't here. Miserable git. Lewis, I actually mentioned this yesterday to Josh. He's got everything you want to succeed in a goalkeeper. He's tall. He can actually kick with both feet. Unfortunately, his kicking is shocking. I don't know why he aims for the wings. I mean, if he aims for the centre circle, he might slice it out to either wing. But where he's aiming for the wing, they're going out to for throw-ons. And there's just something that I'm not sure if the confidence is not there. But as you said, Jack, he had first couple games, there was a bit of worry, but then he settled down. He was in team of the week for like 3 out of 4 weeks. So I kind of would like to just see him back just to see the difference between the two. But Lewis has got everything you want to succeed as a goalkeeper. It's just not happening. Whether that's because the defence in front of him have given him no protection or not, I don't know. But yeah, I think we might potentially see Jack back sooner rather than later. But I too am a little bit worried about next week. I'm just hoping the weather's not as cold because I don't want to stand in the cold watching that again. It's not the greatest in the world. Right. On that miserable note, we will wrap it up. Thank you for your time. Thanks to everyone for listening. Joe, thank you. Paul, thank you. Andrew, when you listen back, thank you.
Cheers,
Take care, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
United! 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 United!